Good afternoon. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, as well as the coaches and student athletes, we ask that you please silence your cell phones. When called upon, please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during the press conference. Please direct your question to a specific player. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. And as you know, recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. This press conference will go until 3:30 p.m., and we feature the student athletes from Duke University, Mark Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor, and Ryan Young. Let's open up the floor for questions. Right here in the front, please.
Mark, Evan Abrams from Spectrum News 1. When you go up against a team like Tennessee, what do you need to do differently defensively wise to try and, whether it comes to out-rebounding them, staying strong in the paint and not fouling?
Yeah, they're a really tough physical team. You know, we know they love to live in the paint and things like that, kind of similar to us. Just trying to keep them out the paint and just rebounding. I think those are two things we're trying to focus on. We know they love to crash the glass and they love to pack the paint. And just continue to play together, but on the defensive end, just keep them off the offensive glass and, you know, protect our paint. We know they have some big guys down there, but if we think we play our defense, will be good.
Right here in the front, please.
Ben McKee, 24/7 Sports. Ryan, what stands out to you about Tennessee's post players and just kind of your perspective on watching them play last night?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is their size and their aggressiveness. That stands out individually about them, but as a group, they're pretty deep. They've gone to a few different lineups throughout the course of the year, and it seems like they kind of throughout the course of a game will stick with whatever guys are going in the moment. So I think the versatility stands out a little bit as a group. They can throw some different lineups similar to the way that we can, but they'll go to different bigs at different times. So I think we just got to be ready for anything, and we have to be able to match their physicality and their size inside.
Front row right here, please.
Tyrese, I know a big storyline everyone's been following and talking about for a while now has been the chemistry between you and Jeremy and you creating more space for him by being able to take the ball down the court. Was that some kind of shift or something that Coach John Shire kind of tried to implement during the season or told you or something you guys worked on in practice? Because it seemed like that wasn't really the case in the beginning of the season, but then towards the end it really stood out.
Yeah, we made the shift about like the start of the year, sort of midway through, just to get Jeremy better looks. I feel like he moves really well without the ball, and he's such a big emphasis when he has the ball in his hands. I feel like a lot of the other teams try and target him on when they're guarding him, and he just gets easier and more free looks off the ball.
Next question. Row one right here, please.
Follow up to that, Tyrese. Does it feel like more pressure? Do you feel a sense of more responsibility when that's the case, knowing that you have to bring the ball up to kind of give Jeremy more looks?
I don't necessarily feel the pressure. I don't think there's any pressure at all. I think it's just better for our team and allows us to get the ball moving and flowing more. I have full confidence in it, and so does Jeremy.
Back to row one.
Kip Coombs, Press Box View. Ryan, you're one of many newcomers on this team. From your perspective, having played longer than most of your teammates, what did you see in the way they came together, and what was there an event or a game or even a play when you realized that things had gone to the next level and this team could be really good?
Yeah, I think if I were to think back at the whole year, I think we really took a change as a group internally after the loss at Miami. It was a pretty embarrassing loss for us on a number of different levels in terms of just the effort that we came out with. And we met as a group, and we talked a lot. And I think from that point on, it obviously led to a long winning streak for us. But I was really impressed by the guys in our locker room, especially the younger guys, with the level of trust with each other and to the staff as well. I think that was kind of a make or break point for us in the season, especially where we were in the rankings after that loss. Could have gone a number of different ways, and I was super proud of the way that we came together, obviously, and became more connected as a group. But like I said, I think it was backing on that trust in each other and the staff.
To the front, please.
Mark or Tyrese, when you guys finished the game yesterday, I was actually on the garage getting ready for a report, but I looked down and I thought I saw you guys, or at least some of you guys, greeting parents or family maybe outside the tunnel. Did that happen at all? Were your family here, and what did they say to you after the game, being your first NCAA tournament games?
My family wasn't here. They're back in Australia.
Yeah, my family was not in the tunnel after the game. Yeah, so I don't know.
Row 2 right here.
Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports. This question for Mark and for Ryan. I know everybody talks about that physicality with Tennessee and that size. Y'all played a schedule, gone around the country, played a lot of teams. Who are some of the most physical teams y'all have played this season that you can kind of look back on some stuff heading into this game?
I could take it first, I guess. As a big, we played Purdue early in the year. Zach Edey's a pretty unique type of player. You have to be physical and throw different looks at him. But then across the board at the ACC, I think we've gotten some good looks at very physical teams. Virginia's one that takes a lot of pride in the way that they play defense and how physical they are in the interior. So I think we've gotten a good different set of looks. I don't know if you have a different viewpoint from the forward position, Mark.
No, I think Ryan hit on. I think Purdue and Virginia are definitely with Edey and Hurst and those guys and are first, and just Virginia with Gardner and Vanderplas when he was playing. Those are definitely probably the two most physical teams that we had played so far. So yeah, I think it probably prepared us, to play a team like Tennessee. We've seen a little bit of everything this year. So
Row 1, Kip.
Kip Coons, Press Box View. Ryan, don't think I've asked you this all season, but in transferring from Northwestern to Duke, you played for a former Duke player and coach in Chris Collins. Did you find a similarity in the way things were done, even terminology or anything that you said, oh yeah, we did that at Northwestern and it's the same thing here?
Yeah, there was definitely some similarities. I think obviously just because Chris Collins, former coaches, came from Duke and they both were under Coach K for so long. So there was definitely some similar terminology and similarities in which the way that the program is run. But there's also a different type of energy with Coach Dyer as well. So they both have their unique styles. But there's definitely been times where I could see, oh, this is they've gotten this from the same place.
Right here in the front, please.
Ben McKee, Go Walls 247. Tyrese, just what stands out to you about Santiago Vescovi and kind of the new role that Jemai Mashak has taken on the second half of the season, and what's going to be critical for you all tomorrow?
Yeah, I actually lived with Santi for a little bit back at the academy, so I'm pretty familiar with his game. He's obviously gotten a lot better, but just the role that he's taken as a player coming in and having an impact on Tennessee straight away stood out to me. And he's a real physical guard and a good all-round player. And I think just limiting him and obviously Ziegler went out and they got guys that can come and step up. So just limiting their perimeter is a big thing, keeping them out the paint.
Third row.
O'Haron, Maryville Daily Times. Tyrese, since Ziegler's gone out, they've kind of had an influx of turnovers in the backcourt the last few games. Just how much of an emphasis have y'all put on kind of being able to continue that and turning them over in the backcourt?
Yeah, I think just sticking to what we do best. We're obviously a really good defensive team, and we just stick to what we do best. And I don't think we have to change anything necessarily. Just make sure we lock in on the keys in our scout that Coach Size emphasized. And like I said, one of them's keeping out their paint. So you just emphasize that in rebounding.
Additional questions for Duke University? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Head coach John Shire will be coming up momentarily. He is scheduled to take the stage at 3:30 p.m. All right, once again, please provide your name and your media affiliation each time you ask a question. We'll open up the floor for questions for Duke head coach John Shire.
Coach Jason Beatty with the Orlando Sentinel. You've had some time to think about this matchup, obviously not a lot of time, but what are your thoughts on Tennessee?
Well, one, they're a great team. I mean, they've played a really tough schedule this year. They've been battle tested. They're experienced. They have great size. They play incredibly well together. They're one of the best assist teams in the country. They're one of the best rebounding teams, and they're one of the best defending teams. So for us, we feel it's a great challenge. This game, the round of 32, it's never an easy game. It's obviously not going to be that way tomorrow, but a lot of respect for them and their group, and obviously they're really well coached. Rick Barnes has been somebody that I've known actually since the recruiting process. I took a visit there when my sister went to Texas, so I took one visit there, and he's a great coach. I have a lot of respect for him. His teams are known for being incredibly tough and together. So, it's going to be a great challenge for us, but we're really excited to have this opportunity.
Row 3.
What do you remember about that recruiting visit with yourself and Rick Barnes?
Well, it was a really good visit. My sister, she wanted me to go there, but she didn't because that was her thing. That she didn't want me to, screw that up. The little brother coming her way. But I just remember being so impressed. They had some, really great teams then. And at the time, if I knew Kevin Durant was going there, I think I would have looked a little bit harder at it. But I didn't know that at the time. And but the campus is beautiful, and obviously it's a great place down there.
Front.
Coach, how do you get your team to kind of give that next level of energy, especially boosting what was already an unbelievable defensive performance in a tougher matchup against Tennessee?
Well, you need to continue to rise to the occasion, and we've done that towards the end of the regular season in ACC play. You need to do that when you go into the ACC tournament. We need to do that yesterday, which we did, and we understand now the next step that needs to be taken. And it doesn't take any convincing to share with our guys how good Tennessee is. They've seen them play. They know their name, the ranking they've had the whole year. So I think our guys understand what's at stake, but also how good we have to be tomorrow. We have to be ready to play and ready to compete.
Right here.
Ben McKee, 247 Sports. John, I was talking to Josiah Jordan-James last night in the locker room, and he was telling me about y'all's relationship during the recruiting process and how great it was. Just what do you remember about recruiting Josiah, and kind of 4 years later, just how have you seen him transform as a player?
Right. Well, one, Josiah is a great kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but he's I love getting to know him. Thought he had just a natural feel for the game when I watched him play in high school. Great family. He had went to a great high school, was really well coached, and he's had a great career there. He's somebody who knows how to play the game. Whatever the game requires, he can do, right? He can score, he can pass, he can rebound. He's a really good defender. He's got great size. So I have a lot of respect for him as a player and what he's done there during his time and who he is now. Obviously tomorrow hope he's not doing all those things. That's the goal, but he's a great person and a great player.
To the back.
Kate Rogerson from ABC 11. Coach, the other day you said you hadn't heard from Paolo yet. I know the Magic had a game last night. Curious if they returned your phone call or you've heard from them just yet.
No, I still haven't actually. I saw them posting about us though, so we're great. And I know they had a tough one the other night, but it's all love. I can tell you that much. I think it is at least.
To the front.
Coach, I know it's all about surviving and advancing, but how much can momentum kind of help the attitude and help the mentality of a team when you guys have won so many games in a row and you guys have the ACC title behind your backs? How much can that help, especially a younger team like yours?
Well, the momentum is great because you've won, but I also I think you have to be careful to think that it translates. You have to go make it happen. You can't assume it will. And for us, I'm really proud of the fact that we haven't assumed anything just because of the winning streak we've had or the basketball that we've played this last stretch. And so we have to continue to go make it happen, play with an edge, play with a hunger. And that's what's made us, really special, the fact that we do that every day. And tomorrow we're going to have to do that.
Second row.
Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports. John, I know you've been around the game obviously a while now. When any team loses its point guard so late in the season, sort of right before the postseason starts, how many different challenges does that sort of give the average team with a guy like Ziegler there and then all of a sudden not there?
Yeah, well, Ziegler, of course, is a great player. Hate that happened to him, because he's just he did so much for their team, right? Running the show and defending and all that. Anytime an injury happens, though, a team can have other strengths they might not have had before. And you look at the size that they put on the floor now. They're as big as any team we've played against, especially in the perimeter. They're really switchable. They can really attack the boards from basically every position. And of course, they're still figuring out their team fully, but man, they're really good. And but again, I'm not diminishing at all what happened with Ziegler because he's a great player, and you hate to see that happen. But Tennessee is bigger, and they can really guard, and they had a lot of depth before, and they still have a lot of depth where they can come in and hurt you from many different positions.
Row 3.
Coach, I was looking over the notes. Jason Beebe with the Orlando Sentinel. I was looking over the notes ahead of this press conference, and it said that the only meeting between Duke men's basketball and Tennessee in the postseason came in 1971 in the NIT. Are you surprised that Tennessee and Duke have never met in the NCAA tournament before tomorrow?
Yeah, I saw that same thing. I was surprised by that too. Yes, to answer your question, I thought we would have played more recently than that, but that's how it goes, I guess.
Back row, please.
Hey, John, Joe Rexrode from The Athletic. Following up on the Ziegler loss and the adjustment, what are your impressions watching Meshack, run the point for them?
Yeah, Meshack is big-time athlete, can really impact the game on both ends. He's a great defender, really gets downhill on offense. He brings great energy. He just brings another dynamic to their team, and it's different, but he's really good. And I mentioned before the versatility they have on defense. Meshack can guard multiple positions. He's got active hands, and it's a different dimension. I've been really impressed with him just watching him, and he's heck of a defender, I'll tell you that much.
Row 3 on this side.
What are the challenges that come with defending Santiago Vescovi?
Well, first of all, Vescovi, he's got a great belief in himself, you can tell. It's anytime he shoots, he thinks it's going in. His teammates thinks it's going in, and probably because most of the time he makes it. And we've had a couple guys in our league who move really well without the ball. He's probably just as good at continuing to move. They do a great job screening for him off the ball. They set as many off-the-ball screens as any team in the country. And he's the main guy they screen for. He has a knack for, getting open, hitting clutch shots, and, of course, he can put on the floor too. He can hurt you in other ways just besides shooting. So he's, just a tough, really good college player. And he's one of those guys where you can't just guard him for 10 seconds and then you relax. You have to be really disciplined with him to make life as difficult as possible, understanding he's probably going to still score a few, but just you need to limit him as much as you possibly can.
To the back.
Kate from ABC 11 again. Coach, yesterday I believe was the under 8 timeout in the second half. You pulled Kyle to the side before going to the huddle, and I asked Kyle about that. He said he just told him, be the Kyle Filipowski I know. Is that something you have to remind all of your players, where this is so many of them, their first experience in the tournament?
You need to remind them from time to time. And our guys, they want it so badly. And I think you could see that with the way we're playing defense and rebounding and passing and playing together. But, you know, sometimes you need a wake-up call. Sometimes you need a reminder of how good you are. And so for our team, I think it's been that balance. And as of late, I think we understand how good we can be. But, you know, Kyle just wanted so bad yesterday. I just wanted him to calm down and play his game, which he still had. He did some really good things. He wasn't like he normally is, but knowing him, he's going to bounce back and be ready to go his normal self tomorrow.
Additional questions right here in the front.
Yeah, John, Kip Coons, Press Box View. Yesterday, you're playing a team that offensively is pretty much a 5-out and perimeter shooting oriented. Tennessee, not like that. How do you quickly make that adjustment, and how challenging is it for your defense to refocus styles like that?
Yeah, it's really polar opposites when you think about it. I mean, Tennessee, they're as good as anybody that I've seen getting in the paint, playing inside out, and like you mentioned, Oral Roberts is very different with that, the way they space you and shoot it. We've done it before, fortunately. You know, the ACC tournament, playing Pittsburgh and then playing Miami and then playing Virginia, 3 very different styles. And the one thing about our defense, the way that it's built, I think it lends itself to versatility and being able to defend different teams. Now, no matter what, you can play great defense and the shot goes up against Tennessee. They're going to the boards. You still need to rebound with them and, you know, make them a half-court team and be strong with the ball. But I think for our guys to transition quickly, the ACC tournament was great preparation to be able to do that. And you actually have another day. You know, we would have been playing by now if this was the ACC tournament. So I think that extra day of preparation really helps.
In the back, please.
Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. John, sorry if you've already answered this, but how do you describe Tyrese's development as a defender?
Tyrese has grown not just as a defender, but just as a player overall this whole year. Like, he's made as big of a stride to me as any freshman that we've had. He's been incredible. The thing about his defense is he's so competitive. You know, he has great focus on whatever the job is that he should be doing at that time. He's got great balance when he's guarding the ball, and he has really good size, so he's able to use that to his advantage and doing it without fouling. That's a key thing. You know, he had the 2 fouls in the first half yesterday, but I mean fouling a shooter, fouling somebody going to the basket. And but I really credit his competitiveness most importantly. Without that, you can only be so good of a defender.
In the back, please.
Brendan Marks from The Athletic. When Derek was working his way through those various injuries, how did you see him mature, and what did that sort of tell you about his character to be able to accept the role that he is now thriving in?
Derek is just, he's got something inside of him, man. He just is, you know, I felt for him in the beginning of the year with some of those breaks that he had, you know, the foot injury, but then he finally was figuring it out, and then that, you know, his leg injury at Virginia Tech happens. And so to be able to overcome that, I credit his family first and foremost, you know, his mom, the fact that he went to Mount Verde for 5 years. You get very battle-tested being there. You know, he went through incredible adversity playing against, in practicing against the best players in the country as an 8th grader. As a freshman, he wasn't even playing. And so to go through that, I think it toughens you, it hardens you. And so for him, he's been able to adapt, doing the same thing here, but he's been a huge key guy for us. I mean, the job that he does, he's basically a 6th starter. We have 6 starters on our team. And so for Derek being able to come, he started for us, he's come off the bench, but really when he plays, one, he's going to play, but then two, the impact that he makes is incredible because you have to guard him. He's starting to do more things without the ball, rebounding, defending, all of that, and just proud of his perseverance for sticking with it.
Final question for Coach Shire in the back.
Yeah, if I can follow up on that, did you ever have to have a conversation? So he comes back from that second injury. You guys are sort of already starting to kick things into gear. Did you ever have to have a conversation with him about his role and how that may have been different from expectations, and how did he handle that?
We've, of course, had conversations. I don't know specifically at that time. I can't remember, exactly what was said or what we talked about. But throughout, we have very open conversations. And Derek, I just give him credit for battling. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, just continuing to show what he can do. Whether you come off the bench, whether you start, ultimately it's about what you do on the court with your minutes. And he's done a great job of controlling that. He's done a great job of the work that he's put in. He's been consistent. He's been focused, driven. And that's the thing I love the most. But the communication has been there, and I just love his attitude. I mean, I'm going to use yesterday's game. He had it going in the first half. He didn't get as many shots as he probably should have in the second half. We missed him a couple times, and he was so happy we won. And I think that example of Derek yesterday being happy is a good example for where our team is. Just we're all about winning, and we know at the end of the day that's going to carry the day for all of us.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub. That's located at ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thank you for joining us. Tennessee will be on the clock at 3:55.